This film follows a story of a woman suffering from hysteria. She is treated by a doctor using a new technique known as psychoanalysis. He successfully treats her, but eventually ends up falling in love with her. Hey guys, today I am going to explain a drama romance film released in 2011 called A Dangerous Method. The film takes place in the year 1904, when a woman named Sabina is being taken to Burgosli, the preeminent psychiatric hospital in Zurich. Sabina suffers from hysteria, a condition where a patient suffers from ungovernable emotional excess and loses most of the control of their body. She is going to be treated by Dr. Carl Jung, a young Swiss doctor. To understand Sabina's condition, Jung sits behind Sabina so that she doesn't get distracted when talking to him. Jung uses word association and dream interpretation as part of his approach to psychoanalysis and understands the root cause of Sabina's condition. He learns that Sabina's condition was triggered by the humiliation and sexual arousal she felt as a child when her father used to spank her naked. He would then make her kiss his hand. Later, Jung is with his wife Emma, and the two are talking about Sabina. He learns that Sabina is a well-educated woman who aspires to become a doctor. Emma suggests her husband to use Professor Freud's theory of psychoanalysis, but Jung says that he has already begun using psychoanalysis. Later on, Jung and Sabina take a walk in the garden. Sabina says she knows that she won't be able to become a doctor because of her condition, but Jung sees the talent in her and decides to let her assist him in his experiments. Jung makes Emma participate in research to observe the physical reactions of his subjects. Sabina's job is to provide empirical data as a scientific basis for psychoanalysis, but she soon learns that Jung is conducting his research not only on his patients but also on family members, including his wife. She tells Jung that Emma is worried about her baby and feels that her husband is losing interest in her. Time flies by and Jung continues his psychoanalysis on Sabina. Sabina reveals that when she was 4 years old, she broke a plate. So her father told her to take off her clothes and spanked her naked as punishment. She was so afraid that she wet herself, but her father would continue spanking her again and again. Sabina reveals that she eventually enjoyed being spanked by her father. Later on, any kind of humiliation would excite her. Sabina is ashamed of herself and feels that she should never be allowed to leave the psychiatric hospital. 2 years later, Jung and his wife go to Vienna to meet Professor Sigmund Freud. Jung and Professor Freud discuss Sabina, who is recovering from her condition and is doing well at a medical university. Their first meeting lasted for 13 long hours, where they discussed their dreams and theories about psychoanalysis. Jung returns to Switzerland and meets with Sabina. He tells her that Freud's way of thinking is different from theirs and is very persuasive and convincing. But Jung doesn't want to follow his ideology and believes that there must be another way. While returning back on a ship, Jung tells Sabina that she is a brilliant student at the university and has the potential to become a psychiatrist. Later on, Freud writes a letter to Jung, asking him to take care of a brilliant but unstable psychoanalyst named Otto for some time. Otto brags about having many children from different women. He decries monogamy marriage and suggests to Jung that resistance to transference is symptomatic of the repression of normal healthy sexual impulses. He tries to persuade Jung to make physical relationship with his patients, but Jung refuses to do so. Later, Jung meets Sabina near the bay. Sabina says that she is studying sexuality at the university, but she has no sexual experience. She kisses Jung and tells him that if he wants to take the initiative, then he can come to her house. But Jung resists the idea of cheating on his wife and breaking the taboo of getting intimate with a patient. Later on, Jung goes to Otto's room and finds that he is gone. There, he finds a note from Otto, who who thanks Young for taking care of him and asks Young to tell his father that he is dead. Later on, Young goes to Sabina's house and breaks the taboo by getting intimate with her. The next day, Emma tells Young that she has a surprise for him. She gifts him a boat with red sails that he always wanted. After seeing his wife's love for him, Young realizes that what he is doing is wrong. So he goes to Sabina's house and tells her that they should stop their affair, as he feels guilty for cheating on his wife. But Sabina persuades him to continue the affair and asks him to punish her just like her father used to do. Sometime later, Jung goes to meet with Freud. Now that Otto is gone, Freud decides to adopt Jung as his heir. Freud and Jung discuss their theories of psychoanalysis, but they are beginning to disagree with each other frequently, which is causing cracks in their friendship. In one meeting, Freud tells Jung that there is a rumor that Jung has taken one of his patients as a mistress, but Jung denies doing any such thing. Realizing that he can no longer hide his affair, Jung ends his affair with Sabina. Sabina tries to persuade him, but Jung has made up his mind. Sabina is devastated by this as she has fallen in love with Jung. After a couple of days, Sabina arrives at Jung's office and fights with him because he told her mother about their affair. Jung says that her mother already knew about the affair from the anonymous letter she received. He also tells Sabina that from now on, he is her doctor and she is his patient. Sabina angrily grabs a knife and cuts Jung's face. She then pays him 20 francs for the consultation fees and leaves. Later on, Sabina writes a letter to Freud asking him to allow her to meet with him on a matter of great interest to both of them. After reading the letter, Freud writes a letter to Jung and asks him if he knows about her. Jung replies with a letter saying that she was the case that brought them together. He also asks the professor to act as a go-between them and avert a disaster. Freud then writes a letter to Sabina and says that what he understands is that she and Jung used to be good friends, but not anymore. Whatever the issue they have, they should solve it without his involvement. After reading his letter, Sabina goes to Jung's office, where she learns that Jung is leaving the hospital. She accuses Jung of making Freud believe she's lying about their affair. So she demands Jung to write a letter to Freud and tell him the truth about their affair. She reminds him that she could have publicly damaged him but chose not to. So Jung agrees to her demand and sends a letter to Freud, confessing about his affair with Sabina. After reading the letter, Freud writes a letter to Sabina and apologizes to her. He also admires her way of resolving the conflict she had with Jung. A few years later, Sabina goes to meet Jung at his house to work on her dissertation. While working on her dissertation, Sabina tells Jung that when she graduates, she will leave Zurich and move to Vienna. Jung breaks down and begs her not to leave, but Sabina has made up her mind. 2 years later in Vienna, Sabina graduated as a psychiatrist. She goes to meet Freud at his office, where they discuss psychoanalysis. Although she always sides with him, she believes Freud and Jung should coexist so that the progress of psychoanalysis doesn't stop. But Freud is not interested in reconciliation and tells Sabina that he is going to assign 1 or 2 of his patients to her. Jung and Freud continue exchanging letters for some time, but after increasing hostilities and accusations regarding the differences in their conceptualization of psychoanalysis, they decide to end their friendship. 1 year later, Sabina meets Emma at her house. Sabina is now married to a Russian doctor and is pregnant. Emma tells Sabina that after Jung cut off his ties with Freud, he is not well. So she asks Sabina to help him. Jung is sitting all by himself near a river. Sabina sits next to him and realizes that Jung is really not doing well. Jung explains that he has not been getting apocalyptic dreams, due to which he is unable to sleep. Sabina tells him that she is returning back to Russia with her husband. She then asks Jung about his new mistress. Jung says that she is just like Sabina, who reminds him of the time he and Sabina used to spend together. He tells Sabina that he regrets leaving her, but there is nothing he can now do to change it. In the film's footnote, we learn about the fates of the 4 psychoanalysts. Otto starved to death in Berlin in 1920. Freud died of cancer in London in 1939 after being driven out of Vienna by the Nazis. Sabina trained a number of analysts in the Soviet Union before she and her 2 daughters were shot by the Nazis in 1942. Jung emerged from a nervous breakdown to become the world's leading psychologist before dying in 1961. And so this was the story of A Dangerous Method. Let me know your thoughts and subscribe for more interesting movies. See you in the next hunt!